This is the Townsend Finance Committee calling meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. It's Tuesday, February 11th, and again, it's 6:07 p.m. calling to order. With that, I don't see Sam online, but in case he comes in, I would like to do our roll call attendance.
Carolyn Bazikas.
David Walker.
Mary Jane Churchville here. Carol Hawks is present.
Don Hayes present.
Sam Grant present.
Okay, so you are there. I was looking at my wrong screen, so thank you. That is 6, so we have a quorum. We are good to go. This meeting is being recorded, played live on Channel 9, will be replayed and available on the YouTube channel in the future. At this time, additions or deletions, I will say that Fire Chief was not able to attend tonight, so we're going to reschedule. I have tentatively moved it to the February 27th agenda. It was, so I think we should still leave it on the agenda. There are, when I was reviewing it, there might be additional information that we'd be requesting, so that will give them the opportunity us to review it. If we have questions, we can forward them to him, and so that they can be addressed when he does appear. So that would be really the only piece I have at this point for changes to the agenda. And with that, we move into the work session. We will have a joint meeting with the select board. We
Can I call to order?
You may.
Good evening, I'm Laura Schifrin, Chair of the Select Board, and I am calling our joint meeting with the Finance Committee to order at 6:10 p.m. And roll call.
Veronica Cal present.
Laura Schifrin present. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would just like to thank all of our military, our veterans, currently and those currently serving, as well as all of our first responders. And as I added this week, also their families. They sacrifice as much as those that they give up. So I do not have any. The meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube channel. And is there anyone else here recording? If so, please state so. I don't think I see anything. I do not have any additions or deletions. And we have no minutes to approve this evening. So Don, take it away.
Okay. The police chief is not here, so I would suggest we review. If we have any questions, we can forward to the police chief and ask him to attend another session, or if there is nothing significant, it may be budget summit on the March 1st. We do have a lot of budgets to go through, so I don't want to bog us down in some of our meetings that could get long. Okay, so I'm going to share budget. We'll start, and I had put on the agenda to start with the really nice small one. The animal control officer was submitted by Chief Sarko.
Which one is that?
Okay.
191.
Animal control. So these are the BBAs that go with it. If we go back to our budget book, in the last tab in the budget book.
Should we have budget books as well?
Yep.
Sabrina had
Want to share mine?
made them for the finance committee. I
We
made my
should
own.
have them as well.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Unless you want it,
I can have Sabrina make you guys.
That would be
some
good.
as well.
yeah.
Last tab, right? The purple one?
Yeah, it's
Yep,
the last page,
the
of the
last purple
last
tab.
page of the last tab.
Right.
The last page.
Sorry, it's so, no, sorry, it's kind of like it starts with Chief Sartell.
Okay.
And the first sheet, which we haven't seen yet, this is the, budget letter that has been requested
Could you,
from department heads.
Could you take out the participants there, just X out
Yeah.
of that so that we can see? Those of us that don't have the budget
Yeah.
books.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Because
idea.
it's like-
Even for the.
No, yeah,
and this one.
yes, that
Yeah.
one.
And hang on, I usually warm up a little bit because I get to the right. It helps front line, it also helps in the room to see. Is that a good sign? I may need to scroll back a little bit, but. Okay, so the budget letter introduces, the police budget. He's included the headcount, on second sheet. Third sheet is on the back side of second is, the organization chart. And then pages, 4 and 5 would be the list, a listing hard copy of the names in this budget for the police. So, sorry. I did want to start with animal control, which is I think it's probably it's the last sheet in this section. And it matches what's doing.
Animal control on these sheets?
Animal
see
control is on the sheet, on the PGA.
Which tab are you on?
It is it's the last tab and the last sheet in the book.
Thank you.
It'll say ACO for Animal Control Officer.
Right.
Okay,
What's on the screen?
this is the spreadsheet that matches, this is the spreadsheet for Animal Control Officer. If I scroll up to the top, you'll see this, the FY 26.
No,
So he's put.
talk about the headers.
Okay, so, right, so he's put in FY 26 on the budget. When we look down below, the headers, sorry, FY 24, this is actually FY 25, which is where we are now. And you'll see the 21,000 is. Sorry,
Is 20,781 now?
20,781
It
now.
went down and it's gonna go back up again?
And it's gonna go to 21,525, so that's the 4% increase.
Why
Yeah,
was
why-
there a decrease from FY 24 to 25?
Looks like that was at the that was the budget, but that was the actual.
Well, that's not what it says.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
says-
no.
Right, if we look at the BVA, you'll see, the original budget was 21,613, and it was the adjusted, so that 21,613, 21,613,
should be where the 21,525
right,
is.
yeah. So
But,
again,
this is, no, this is year to,
21,613 is what's in the FY 25 budget that we are
Correct.
looking at.
The other amount was the year to date.
Yeah.
Still.
okay,
So what
let's
happened?
go on.
Oh,
So
What increase? What, you just a 4% increase across the board? Is that what it is?
Well, let me just, and now, and again, if he had the wrong number in there, you can see the calculation in column I went to 0%. So he's actually gone down between FY 25 and FY 26. It's
Why?
now a decrease of,
No, that's an error.
it's just an error. So if we're gonna look at it, we want that to be 4%.
So we need to get the police chief to correct
Mhm.
this budget.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. So, what we're seeing is that we look like we're gonna recommend it to be a 4% increase. And I just gotta get that in my,
So why is there an increase? That's what I don't get.
well, this is a salary line, this is a stipend, for the animal control officer.
So she's gonna get more money,
Yes,
1,500, oh, okay. So does she take money in? Is this, do they have fines? Do we get money from the animal control when they
The
find?
place you can find that is if there's a revolving fund that's associated with this. So if you look at town meeting where we approve all the revolving funds, that's where you see that. If there is one,
yeah,
and I can't tell you off the top of my head.
exactly, same here. I mean, I can try to look it up, I don't have my
So it would be under a revolving fund for animal.
animal control officer, if we had one.
So if we don't have one, that means she doesn't get fees? I mean, if your dog is running wild and someone calls you and she has to come pick it up, don't you get fined?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think you do.
I think we should know that because that's a source of revenue, isn't it?
And who collects the fines, who enforces fines that aren't paid? I don't know that that exists. I don't know that we have
Right.
police officers running around collecting dog fines. And I don't know that the animal control officer is deputized to do that sort of thing.
I'm looking at some of my reports for revolving funds and, anything related to, animal control is, I don't see this on here.
Mhm.
Yeah. There are other police revolving,
Yes.
funds, but, but related to animal control, I don't see it.
But there are fines, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. What,
Yeah,
can we find
you
out
have
about
to
that
look-
at the next meeting?
I have a question in reference to, so each year a dog has to get a license,
Correct.
the owner does. So if for some, would it make sense that for some reason, if there was a violation against this dog via the animal control fire employee, would that not be reported to the town clerk? And so when they're up for renewal, they can't get a license unless they're current
Oh,
on their
very good.
fines.
That's a good idea.
I don't know if they've ever issued, I mean, do they have they ever issued funds?
We can.
Do we know?
Well, that's a
idea.
very
I don't
good
think
question.
so.
I don't think they
I
have.
have never
I don't
known
think-
of anybody paying a fine.
I don't, our dogs,
But are there?
when we had
fines?
dogs, they got loose a few times and we did not get a fine.
Oh, my dog got loose once and they didn't get a fine either.
Yeah,
So there's no fines?
I don't
there
believe
is.
so.
Okay, that's what I
So
wanted to know.
then it's just a service that the taxpayers pay for.
Well, I think they probably consider they paid for the dog licensing fee.
There's an
Yes.
animal care program,
There's an
but I
animal
think
care-
that's if she picks up an animal and has to
Well,
hold it.
I will tell you personal experience. There was an injured bird at my daughter's house that couldn't fly, and I called animal control, and they came and got the bird.
That
We
was
put it in a little box and said she would take care of it until it healed or fixed it. So I
So
just,
she has to hold the dog.
Well, that's what that is
Right. I
for.
think
That's
that's
what
what
the,
Oh, okay.
Right, so if there is a revolving fund, and again, this is from last year's, annual town meeting. So we see item 6 on there is, the animal care program. And that revolving fund is only, the spending limit is $1,000, so, we'd have to check bylaws and see if there are any fees collected by animal control.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's responsible.
I know our dogs got loose just a handful of times and we never paid a fine.
Right,
We had to pay for some chickens that the dogs decided to,
Uh,
well, no, they didn't eat them. They just brought them back to their owner. But, you know, when they brought them back, they didn't take too much care with that.
Did the animal control people come to get your dogs or did somebody else? run?
No, they went to where the dogs got loose to and got them there. And then my wife went and picked them up.
Oh, so the animal control girl did come.
I had animal control come for my dog getting loose one time.
I just
Yeah,
wanted.
they didn't come to the, I don't think she brought them, did she bring them to the house? It's possible she brought them to the house and dropped them off once.
No,
I don't-
I just wondered if
Mhm.
we had, fees, we need money.
We did not pay a fine. I know
Okay,
that.
no fine.
we're gonna,
So is the total budget is, 26,525, that's what I have on here, I mean, it's,
total budget with the $5,000 for the expenses.
Yeah.
Is 27,477.
27,477?
Yeah, so we changed,
What
so
is
if
that
you're looking
number?
at hard copy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
number on the hard copy is gonna go up to 22,478, actually.
What's it going up to?
Which one?
FY 26.
FY 26
Okay, is what?
is gonna be 22,478.
And that is because,
That is because, it appeared that there was a wrong number in the FY 25 budget line.
Cause that should have been 21,613.
It should have been
yeah,
21,613.
Veronica's right, we better have this corrected.
Right, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this is the
I
base
can't
that we
follow.
build the omnibus from. It's kind of like, and that's why we have this in review, because we don't want to be surprised as we put it together, or if we have a deficit halfway through the year, or probably through the year, we want it to be correct.
So these things.
Dawn, can I
Yeah.
see the cell that has the 3% on it right there in that segment?
Yeah.
I want to see the
You wanna see the
formula. No,
formula?
not that one, the one above, the
Above.
3% above, right there.
Okay.
How are you figuring that?
Okay,
You're doing H
Well,
15
this was
minus
the
F
formula
15
that
divided
was
by
in
F
our-
15. Okay, I'm good with that, but what's your granularity on the,
yeah, you want to see,
I want to see the 3.245.
Yeah.
So,
again, that's total budget so the expense line has gone nowhere. So the total budget increase is 3.248%, with all of it being salary.
right. Okay, so now I have a question. This is a general question. I don't believe this position is in the union. All of our union positions are 4%, and in general, I think that we should be giving across the board a 4% increase. If we're in a budget crisis, this is just something to think about. Are we doing that just for union members, or are we doing it across the board?
And now, then again, I haven't looked at, say, the building inspector, because that's a lot of other areas that are stipend.
Right, there are, it's just something to think about, because I do think unless an override passes, we have to figure out where we're getting
But that,
$1.5 million.
Wait, so are you asking us,
Oh, no, I'm just
oh, you're just
throwing it out there,
Okay.
no answer.
Oh, okay, okay.
so
But we
this
need
is-
to
we
be
need
thinking.
look at the
Yeah, that's a
budget,
good point.
identify questions, and possibly identify areas that we might want to come back and trim.
So to that, this is a 4% automatic increase, it's the
This is 4% to match the salaries that the union employees are getting. So,
well,
So, and it's a 2% cost of living and a 2% step. I believe the steps are based on reviews. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you get a meets expectations, then it would go up.
You get a step as well, which is the way it is.
so who does that?
The department heads.
The department head does that.
So, and that's a union bargained thing.
Mhm.
We have some employees that are not in the union.
Can we freeze it for a year or two?
Not quite fair, but
No,
it's something to think about.
Right,
Yes.
You know,
If we
fair
have
is
to.
one
If
thing,
we
but,
have to,
you know.
it's just that we have to figure out.
because I'm not getting a cost of living increase.
Because that 3.248 is higher than the 2.5 that we can count on.
Well, but they've got
You have
two-
to look at the
They've
aggregate.
got two lines. That's the purchase of services that's adding to that. So this is the 4%, that 3.428 is the total budget. There's two lines. There's
Yes,
the stipend line for the personal service. The purchase of services
it's
is
level funded.
level funded year over year. So when you look at the 3.2.
That's how but it is still above what if we're going if we're going line by, thing by thing, you need to be like 2.5.
Do we know what we purchased with the $5,000?
Dog food.
Oh, probably,
If we look at the BVA, it's kind of like, that's something we can ask, but if we look at it right now, they're halfway through the year and they have not touched it. So this was as of the end of December, and that's why we do the BVA. Ask them.
They didn't touch it.
So do we have the BVA from the end of last year? I'm wondering if is this a
Is it a-
place where we could drop it by $1,000? I know it's nickel and diming,
But we're gonna have to
but
do
we're,
that. We're gonna have to do that. I mean, that's,
do you have last year's BVA? I probably do.
I probably do somewhere, but it kind of, but if we drop it $1,000, that comes down, it's kind of like, you could even drop it, $500.
well, they're not spending it.
Well, if they're not spending
If
it,
you're not
why-
spending it,
if the trend is not
Right.
spending it, why not
Yeah.
cut it down to $2,500?
Mhm.
Or like Veronica's at 1,000. You know,
I don't know we'd have to look at what difference it made in that, in the percentage.
Like,
Yeah.
or what actually they
Mhm.
may use it for. Like,
Right.
maybe they don't need it for 1 year, but maybe they spend it the next year.
right. So we need more information.
Yeah, we're looking for historical.
BVA,
They only used 1,500 last year, out of the 5,000.
so
So let's
if
pop it
we
down to 15 or 2 times.
make it 3,000, what does that do? Can you manipulate?
Yeah. If I throw the 3,000 in, that's a drop in to 5%, well, 4.267, as you can see. On the whole budget. So it's a 40% drop on that line. For the animal control officer, it's a drop of 4.267.
And that's something to consider. We don't have to do this right now,
No.
but
Right,
it's something to consider.
Well, maybe we can feed that back to them and ask them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
why is this number as it is? And can we trim it back to,
Right,
Can I
is
go
there
back
something
one
where there were a
more
larger
year?
number of dogs that was being serviced and housed or
Or
something?
what the
in prior
impact,
years?
we could ask what the impact would be if we dropped it to 3,000.
Right.
right?
And again, if we drop it to 3,000, we monitor it during the year. If we need to have a special town meeting article, or if we need to do a municipal transfer at the end of the year, there are remedies.
Right, but this way, but if it's not spent, then we have to wait for the
For the
certification to get the money
Yeah.
back. So if we can reduce it,
I agree
You're spinning my
100%.
words back at
yes, I am.
Good. Thank you.
No,
It's kinda like-
that's-
I know, I can't remember everything, but some things I can.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
good one.
that's
Right,
very
you're right,
important.
if we don't spend it, so.
It's gonna be nickel and dime throughout this whole thing.
So,
Right, but if we nickel and dime it through the whole thing, it adds up a little bit.
No, I know it. That's what I'm saying.
so who goes back to the police chief?
We can, like. we can-
Is that something that the finance committee is doing? I'm the liaison. Do you want me to do it? You can do it however you
Yeah.
want.
We can, if you're okay, we can generate it and send an email and you can forward it on.
Or you can, yeah. I'm good. I'm not looking to do more things. But we need to know who's gonna say something on these
Yeah,
things.
no, that's,
So,
it's kind of pretty much Oh, I'm
And,
sorry.
and that
this is a-
way we
this is
can
a
keep
two-line
the
budget.
salaries and,
Right,
you know, which
Yeah.
I would rather do.
Mhm.
So,
and when I make these changes, I save the file back in the same place, but, just identify it, that it's not the original.
are they at the top of police? Is that where? No, not last year.
No, animal control is,
Some funky place.
yeah.
Like
it's
towards the
further
end?
down after, well,
FEMA, tree warden, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's right after.
Oh, I've got
it's
it.
right after
I've
team.
got
Yeah,
it.
by tree warden.
And a quick, I think you probably know this is the 3-digit code of the department.
Yeah.
It's the,
Oh, yeah, yeah, that would help.
yeah, it's 292.
Yeah, that's,
So
I
that's-
wanna know what the
Yeah.
code is.
So that's,
I wanna
that's
know.
the trick. to,
Yeah, that's the trick to finding it.
All right, so here's 292 right here.
So I had put that on top because that was the first one we were looking at. You'll see, there's no, it says page 15 when I'm looking at it on the cut, so. Are there any other questions on animal control?
So we're getting a new updated sheet.
We're gonna request a new updated sheet with our recommended changes. We're gonna ask, about the potential for a change on the purchase of service. And, see what we get. So, Sam,
And correction, and the correction, right?
Yep. Anything for animal control officer? Nothing being heard. We're not voting on these budgets yet.
Do that March first, right?
We can do it March 1st, or we can do it in another meeting too. We hadn't done it on during the budget because sometimes things were still in flux, so we were, in the past, we've held off past, budget summit, before we vote on the budget. Okay, next is police, so let me open that file. And again, if we're back in the book, the police budget. About the summary of the budget, for the account 210, is just after the list.
What color is it?
It's still in the purple.
Oh, it's
Back
purple.
to the-
Oh, it's purple. Oh, everything in police is purple.
Everything in the police is in the purple.
Okay, what are we gonna look at now?
We're gonna look at the police budget itself. And we'll start with the account 210.
Okay. The police chief salary,
Yep, that's the start.
okay, so he went up 3%?
Look that way.
Is he one of the 4%ers and you took a cut, or is he a 2.5 and got
he,
more?
he has a personal services contract, so he's not a union member. He's outside of the union. His contract is personal services and it's negotiated,
Each year or for,
usually for 3 years, because we can give 3-year contracts.
so that's what he has?
Yes,
And he goes up 3% this year?
correct.
Okay. So it's a contract.
I'm wondering about the lieutenant. And that's also, the lieutenant is in the union,
Okay,
but
How do you know the difference?
That's 2 people, right?
okay, well,
no,
that
no,
becomes.
there is one.
Is that one?
He's a
well,
deputy and the chief? He's a police
Okay.
lieutenant and the chief?
Okay, the
No.
deputy's in there for historical. If you
Right.
look at it, it hasn't been.
Right, I
budgeted.
see that, yeah.
We have had no salary in deputy police since 23.
Do we not have a deputy police chief, is that
We
why?
do not, it was
Okay,
moved to the lieutenant position.
Oh, okay. And he makes, wasn't the chief of police?
No,
No,
No.
I don't think that's one person. I thought that there
Well,
was.
No, there is
if you-
only,
There's one salary budgeted in here, but if you look at the list of, and the support, it does say one lieutenant is vacant.
Yeah.
correct. So this is,
So that's
the-
not, this is not that one person's salary.
yes, it is.
So the 110 or?
123.
Damn.
Oh,
No,
that
that
was
was fiscal.
years ago. We don't
That
care
was
about that.
FY '23
Yeah.
when we
Okay.
did have 2 lieutenants.
Oh,
So we
For-
paid,
so now we pay.
Just one.
And we
Okay.
had the 2 lieutenants, one of them was the entire year, one of them was partial year.
And again, if we look at this on the titles, you'll see the title on the work corp says FY '25.
don't tell me it's wrong.
And
Oh,
It is wrong.
appropriation and.
we're saying 26,
requested.
and then the FY '25 is the appropriation for FY '25, but this should be the FY '26.
For the
Okay.
request?
It says request should be
Wow.
twenty-six.
Maybe we should get this all corrected.
Okay.
This is hard
Is
to
that,
follow.
is the lieutenant's salary
7% increase?
in other words,
He is
It's
part of,
already-
yeah, he's part of.
I know
the,
he's part of the union, but I thought he was in the supervisors union, not the police union. Unless that changed, and it could have changed.
So that's
No,
a question,
that's
that's a
2 years.
question.
No, he's definitely not in the police union.
Each
You
lieutenant,
see.
Are we talking about lieutenants still?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And in the BVA, it's not broken out. I'm sorry, it's not broken out by the way it's broken out
No,
here.
when you look at the BVA, it's both, all, it's, wages, lieutenant. Yeah, it's on the first, it's on page 9 of 28.
What's this that we were just given?
Okay.
Let me pull up the BVA then. So I need to go here.
Okay, but, police,
So I need January 2025,
I don't know why you did.
and I need to go to
Are we
police.
7%?
Okay. so,
This is police.
but that's the second page.
Where's
It's
the first page?
the first, so it's gonna be page 9. You're looking-
Is it here? Oh, here it is,
Okay, here's the lieutenant rank.
Where'd you find it for?
on the back.
Okay, because it was printed as different than
Yeah.
the copy.
He is in the supervisor's union.
He is, so
Supervisor
why
union.
is it a 7% increase
Yeah.
instead of a 4% increase? Because I thought all unions were 2% step and 2% cost of
I
living.
see, yeah.
Well, 2 and 2 does not make sense.
I think what,
Something's wrong.
I think.
Think it's an error?
No, I think he lumped everything together.
Meaning?
His base, his clothing allowance, his, education stipend, he lumped that all together.
Okay,
When he should have, I think, broken it out.
Can we have that
so
broken
there-
out?
There is
Yeah.
detail in, on the chief, individual chief, so we can go to the later chief. The lieutenant is the second position.
Yeah, so,
It's a special stipend for education, getting to the 120. No, 120. So
So what's his name? It goes by name, right?
Peach is the.
Peach?
second name. Yeah, so the first, on the labor worksheet,
Sartell,
Chief
Reed.
Sartell, and then Peach.
No, no.
No,
Yeah, right here.
Oh, I see him, yeah.
You see him?
Oh, he's down
He's
there,
here.
yeah. So,
In the
I
middle.
don't have.
Okay,
there's gotta be a clear way to do this.
so chief is on the
Make it
top.
easier.
Yeah. This is crazy. So,
Page back. One more.
all right, there's his base
So
wage.
here's chief, and here is.
What are we,
Lieutenant
just
Peach.
the
I don't
same,
know what it is, fiscal year 24, what's 25?
where's 25?
I don't know, where's 20?
Okay. So 20, we have 23 actual, 24 actual, 25 appropriation is what,
Where is that?
So why,
What do you mean, where is that?
Well, I
And
got,
that's, this is the worksheet for the 26 request.
oh, well, where's the request?
So,
why isn't the number 121,
All right, because it's
819?
very
Yeah, that's-
confusing,
Oh,
Don,
you're done.
because
This
at
is
the
terrible.
top here it says FY
2024,
2024.
correct. That's another one of his
So
areas.
is
Yeah.
this
Gotta do
This
this.
is
really
FY
20,
This is 26.
this is 26?
Yeah.
So they're not fixing the dates, they're
They're
just,
not fixing the
They have
dates.
to do that because we're gonna miss stuff.
yeah, we
We're gonna
need to
miss
have
stuff.
these.
We need to have this cleaned up
Where's 26?
before we
Yeah,
all go
Okay,
sideways.
so that should be 26,
Right.
okay.
And in the details in the chief's notes, in the account number, you'll see that which account he's assigning in his main sheet. So like the chief's salary is on line 5100.
Okay, on that big long sheet that they,
That's where.
Yeah, so if we look up here,
Is it?
5100 is the chief's
I don't
salary.
remember seeing that.
Yeah, it's called, Quinn bill.
I'm lost.
yeah, I
Okay,
know, I know,
okay,
I get,
that's,
Twin bill, that was
that's why we're
usually
gonna
a
pull it together.
different line.
So we're looking at the detailed sheet in the book, and the chief's salary line says it's 5100. And when we look at the first line with the chief's salary in it, that's 5100.
Wouldn't it be better if we cleaned everything up and then we go over it?
Well,
Just saying.
Okay, well,
okay, I see,
that's,
all right,
Wouldn't,
well, no, that's not right.
let's
no,
keep
that's-
going. It's
no,
not, it doesn't match exactly, but I understand what he's doing.
Mhm.
So does it add up to 7% if you add his,
well,
I'm sure. it
everything?
again, if we, do I have the detail? I think-
not completely because,
Okay, hang on, let me go to labor one, I forgot it is in here. So we're looking for Lieutenant Peach. And I'm highlighting everything on Lieutenant Peach's.
Right.
Line. So if we look at this line, if we look at his
Okay.
total salary, it says 121, he's added everything, including the clothing allowance.
So he's got a clothing, he's got a
If-
special stipend for
If we
education.
take the clothing out, he has a special stipend for education, and he has base wages.
Are we gonna have to do that for every single solitary one? I
don't.
mean, that's,
Okay, I
I
see the
don't-
base wage.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
the
yeah,
clothing
clothes, yeah.
allowance, and then the stipend
Yeah.
for education.
Right.
So it doesn't exactly match.
It
Doesn't
doesn't
right.
exactly match, but he's done 120,000.
well, how
And
close
those
is
two
it?
numbers come to 120,560.
And how close is that to the 7% or the 2 that's supposed to be?
That's the 7%, but it's a matter of, is this year's line different and not including that, and he has it on a different line. for
Yeah, but he's gotta
education.
put it on the right line. We have to,
Well,
this is how mistakes are made.
right. So
This
it's-
is how things get lost in the shuffle. This is not a good practice
Yeah.
at all. This is not fiscally responsible. This has gotta be corrected, and we have to know. If it's 7% on the front, and Veronica, you're saying it's almost 7% if we take out, but we don't know for sure.
There's a rounding component
Right.
here, is all I'll say. It's not exempt, but let's keep going with what we have here to see where we are.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then,
We'll go back to main sheet, the budget worksheet.
Okay.
We have a question, and that gets us into the details of making sure columns match and those pieces.
I would prefer to see it match this.
Right. Now.
And so he doesn't have clothing allowance anywhere else here. I see uniform allowances.
Mhm.
Is that different from clothing allowance?
Right, it should be consistent so that we all are on the same page. And when you say he, Veronica, you mean the chief of police creates this document, right?
Okay.
For the
Now-
individual people.
I don't know.
Okay.
I would imagine the chief of
Okay,
police
so if we
chief
go
does
back
this.
to the
Yeah.
lines and look at the clothing allowance,
Yeah,
you'll see that in his code 210, he's putting into account 5195,
Which is the
When-
uniform.
which is the uniform line. So we have to extrapolate out a little bit, but he's given us the information in that.
I see.
line that says
Okay, yeah.
5195.
That's,
And so if we total up all the 5195.
Yeah, that's.
we should get
We
that
should get
number.
that. So it's kind of
Oh,
like,
okay.
Is that-
51.90.
It's
Which one is
Yeah.
this one right here?
It's not,
Okay,
it's not
I
in
see.
this account.
Oh, I
it's
see.
not,
Okay.
so.
That's
let
not
me-
right.
Here goes.
Oh,
Over
so-
here.
Okay.
It's all horrible. It's an awful way
So
to.
if you- I see the 51, okay.
That's, if you've been here 5
Yeah,
years,
so
it's
let
the
me-
number of years
Let me
you've
show
been
you,
here, and
I
it
have on the screen,
increases
it's
every
not
X
anything,
number
this
of
is something
years.
I
It's in the
prepared.
contract.
I took all of the individual lines that were in here that had numbers associated with them and values, which worksheet I pulled them from. And then I created a pivot table that said the 5195 is total 16.9.
Yes.
What does that mean? Oh, 5195 is the line.
5195 is the line, and so the line in the budget should be 16,900.
But what does that represent?
That represents the uniform.
For the whole department?
It's all those.
Department.
All right, so
So-
only one individual people or?
Okay, so let me go back
Okay.
and explain. So
Did you find another 51.95?
there are, if we look
Oh.
at,
Okay.
okay, if we go to the individual sheets, which I have displayed, up above. So the label one line has the chief on the top, the lieutenant chief, and then for each line is identified in the account number where he's gonna assign.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
okay, I see, on this sheet.
I don't see. it.
Okay,
Okay,
not on.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
On the detail, on the
oh,
detail.
Yeah.
jeez, okay,
so,
Okay.
so that's why I say, you know, if I go to the
No.
labor two line,
okay,
we
yeah.
start seeing the
So-
sergeant.
Yeah, but it's like a matching game.
But what's the difference between what would they get for a clothing allowance that's different than a uniform allowance?
I don't think
I don't
there's
think they
anything
do.
different, I
I
think
think
it's
they're the
just
same, I thought.
a
Well,
line
it should
that,
say,
Well, if it's
Consistently.
Hold on.
all uniforms, then it should
But-
just.
say
The-
uniform.
So, but it is the same thing.
Yeah, but
it's on
It's
the,
not.
it's
It
on
should
the
say
same
uniform.
line,
It-
but does the
it-
lieutenant need a different dress, when he's representing, or does he always?
well, that's what it leads you to believe, that
Well,
it's different than the uniform.
But even if he has a dress uniform, it's still a uniform.
It's still a uniform, so we're looking for terminology consistency. Anything that's going in 5195 should have a description that says uniform allowance, not clothing allowance.
Or we could change uniform to clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And that might be,
No, I think it's good.
but it's really
I agree.
an automatic.
Uniform.
Anyway, yes.
So like I say,
It's gotta be
every
consistent.
one of the sheets, in the detail sheets, the chief has given us the breakdown by person.
Yeah,
And one of the things that I noticed in here, on labor 4, we have an item that everything says SRO.
What's labor for me?
school resource
Labor 4
officer.
is just an additional sheet because it was getting long, so he put additional information onto it, an additional worksheet. So he just continued breaking.
Okay, so after Officer Peach.
Yep.
And his clothes, then we come to Officer Reedy. And he's got a base wage. What's his percentage?
So Reedy is on the worksheet in the workbook.
I see him in the workbook.
Yeah.
So he's got a salary,
He's got a salary.
he's got a clothing allowance.
Yeah.
He gets a stipend for education, he gets holidays,
Holiday pay,
and he gets a step for longevity and a step for certification.
correct.
Yes.
Okay,
So he's totaled up the total for that employee, and then for each of the lines, he's broken down into where it's gonna show up
Okay.
on the master sheet, it's summed up on the. on the
okay, and then we
summary
have
sheet.
Phillips, he's got a salary. He's got another, I guess they're using clothing allowance, Jerry, I'm sorry. And they get a
They're
stipend.
using clothing allowance here, but the BVA is saying uniform
Oh,
allowance.
it's gotta match,
It's a description, it's a
gotta
description
match.
piece.
it's gotta match,
It's kind of like.
gotta
so-
match.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna have to change it.
Yep.
Stipend for education, he's got a holiday, he's got longevity, he's certified, and, okay, so I get it. Here's Giles, he gets money, clothes, education, holidays, longevity, cert. Right, total, okay.
Now, we don't see the front. So we're not looking at what the percentage is for each person, but
But there should be a percentage of what his increase is, right?
it will be on the summary worksheet.
Oh, summer worksheet, it should be
Yeah.
on the same thing. Then we have Francis, he gets money, clothes, stipend. So what is the difference between these education? It depends on, that's something that the individual
different.
officer decides what he wants to do.
Well, it's whether it's a bachelor's degree, master's degree, or
Yeah,
PhD in
Yes.
criminology, whatever.
a lot of your step tables will have
Oh, okay,
steps, and
okay,
then,
okay.
then you go across for education and years and
Which, yeah.
So we got
all
yeah.
that
Martian,
stuff, so.
stipend, holiday, activity, certs, play. Base.
Yeah.
So, do they use the full 1,200 for the, oh, they must.
I would think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Their education, holidays.
Well, let's see. the deviation-
Now, is holidays,
You have to budget for it because you
Yeah.
know
Oh.
you're gonna have to pay holiday pay.
Right.
oh,
And,
Right,
you know,
they're doing 12-hour shifts and they have to work holidays, so the holiday pay for them is figured into their schedule.
okay, so it's not part of their base wage, it's added on.
In essence, yes, but because of the schedule,
Okay, yeah.
and they have to have coverage, so they.
Now we got Monica.
What happens, like, when they do details and they get paid by the whatever,
That's-
whoever?
Did you read
whoever-
that?
not
You didn't
part
read
of
it?
our budget.
Oh,
Sometimes the town has to pay it, sometimes the police
Well-
department has to pay it.
It depends on the
But-
detail.
Yeah, the
Right,
detail,
yeah,
yeah.
the
It
detail.
Well, yeah,
depends on what it
sometimes
is.
the,
If it's a town
company-
project,
company
then
They
we're
hire
gonna-
them, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and sometimes the town pays.
Right, don't confuse us.
If
It's
the company
not-
pays it, does that, well, no, that money just goes to the officer, it
It's
doesn't
not
go.
our budget, so
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No education.
we're not cutting a check for that.
oh, you're not getting money
Tucker.
out, you're not getting a kickback from it either.
Been educated, I'm just making sure they're all.
Unless you believe Facebook.
So that's the clothes,
Sorry.
school, holiday, so longevity, if it's 0, that means they're new?
Yeah,
It means
new-
that-
yeah,
New
they
hire,
haven't-
No,
no
yes.
hire, it's an
Yeah,
open
they haven't
position.
qualified for a longevity stipend yet.
Okay, then stiletto. This is 0. Oh, that's it. End of that.
So that's the thing, we've looked at all of the individual labor sheets.
Yeah,
And then. it's
so
like
what
they
is
have
this
to-
worksheet thing, third patrol?
Do we know, we have 3
What's it-
open officers.
What is an
Correct.
open
Oh,
officer?
The
yeah.
question is, do we know if we have people in the pipeline?
I believe
I
in
think he said
the,
there
I
were-
think we
the-
do.
he has
Oh,
some
we-
folks
I-
in the
when-
academy.
yeah. when you-
Yeah.
And when you
read
say
the
pipeline,
introduction
what do you
letter,
mean?
It means that we have them
give them a
hired and they're in training.
name.
Oh,
So they-
so that's why there's
Yeah.
a base wage here for nobody.
That's correct, yeah, because these are open positions
Right,
and
and-
Now,
they-
will they be filled this year?
I would imagine,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
The
what if
cheapest-
they don't?
The cheapest, he's
Well, then
hoping
we don't
they'll
pay.
reach out to post again if, I mean, I can't imagine, but if they wash out through the academy, it's kind of like, they don't make it, you're not gonna hire them on.
Yeah, but they might want to go
But you
somewhere
are
else,
gonna
right?
post.
Well,
Or do we
them.
already have them
And then we
identified?
repost.
Who pays for the
Yeah.
academy?
We do.
That, we do, and that's why you see.
And they
so
can walk
it-
anyway?
When when we go through this,
Do they?
the increases are gonna be in the training areas.
Yeah, but I don't get it. There's nobody there. So these are just imaginary people or are they identified officers?
You've identified
Their positions.
candidates, you've identified candidates, and they're going through the state police training.
Oh, so we know who they are. We know it's John Brown,
Maybe
Douglas
not.
Jones.
We know we have selected them, they've passed some vetting, and they're going to the police academy school,
And they're real people.
and they're real people.
Okay.
So if they
have to
flunk out,
continue, they have to continue to pass in order to come all the way through.
So we're
we-
paying for that. And then
Yeah.
they come to work for us, like a service payback
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, I get it.
So,
Now, when do they have to come though? I mean,
There's a whole process.
yeah, they,
after they,
That's a
Graduate
conversation
or
for a
whatever.
different
Yeah.
time.
oh, okay, I'm just looking at the amount of
it's
money that we
not-
have in the budget and I'm thinking, what if they don't make it, if they don't come, if they change their mind? if
We
they-
still have we have to think
prepare for it.
positively,
Okay.
that they are going to be successful, and therefore we are going to pay them.
That's right.
All right,
And then there will be.
And there's three of them. so there's like
Yeah.
3 new hires, is that what we're really saying
There's 3
here?
new hires in
Okay.
process that we don't have the names for until they get passed.
If you look, where it says name vacant and then zeros, like
I
under the
see that,
lieutenant,
yeah,
that's a position that is not gonna be hired this year and therefore not budgeted for.
okay.
So
So,
that was my question is when it was there. So that could
So
be,
77.
is there a hope within the next 5 years that we're gonna hire that position?
I don't think so,
Okay.
because
Okay.
there was
That gets
there are
into-
now more sergeants than there used to be. I think
Right.
there's 2 sergeants. It was a whole,
It was a, transfer.
So for 100%, we're gonna hire these people once they graduate? Because this is like
I
$200,000. I'm just looking at money to find, in case we need it
Yeah,
for.
Well,
it's kind of like.
if
you-
we don't hire them, we're paying overtime to
Correct.
existing
Right.
officers because there are shifts that need to be filled.
There's
So, it's a trade-off. It is better to pay the salary and have people working the shift at the salary than to be paying people overtime
Mhm.
because you haven't staffed the position.
So the budget, does it account for that overtime also at the same
It
time that
does,
it's
there's an
accounting for?
overtime line, we haven't gotten to it
Right.
yet.
Yeah.
Because there will always be overtime, but that number will, if you look at years where you weren't completely staffed up, that number in the end is negative, and it gets sucked up really quickly.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
So when I did the numbers, I did not write in the categories. You'll see line 8 here, 5130. If we look at the summary sheet, 5130 is going to be the overtime line.
Okay, so
5130.
I'm just trying to understand.
it's right here.
So I get it, so
So
we're paying
There
overtime.
was no specific overtime per person, but the chief we have always budgeted overtime, and so that line is level funded from FY 26 from 25.
So what happens if we don't get them until, say, October or November?
Then you're paying overtime for other, for
Oh, so
existing
that amount of money
officers
is
to
going to
fill
the
those
overtime.
shifts.
Well, it could be,
So
yeah,
it's moving
right.
out of
You may
this,
shift it, yeah.
out of this
Overtime.
line to the overtime line, okay.
Well, it's all within personnel, so I don't even think you have to do a municipal transfer for that,
That one,
because it's
you don't,
within
because
that
it's-
category.
Because you're in the same
Okay,
category.
all right, so now I'm good. Now, is that it?
Those are the pieces. Again, if we look at the percentages that are going, the training is 17%. Longevity, unfortunately, it's all based on 7 people here. There's no way around it. If an officer is eligible for longevity, they get it. So that's going up by 13%. And the certifications for the stipends, same thing. If it's in the contract. and we
Well,
get the
I have no
certification,
problem with the training. I think that Townsend does one heck of a great job of training their people, and
Yeah.
I don't think they should stop.
So, anyway, I'll let you go, Dawn.
Okay, no, question on labor? Before we move to expenses.
I was just gonna say that if you look at, I'm confirming the number because I found errors in numbers, but,
Oh, yeah.
on that last number, but in any event, if you look at the total personnel services, the increase over the years is just 2%,
Mhm.
even though we have these individual changes. And a lot of that is because of having new personnel and paying them at a lower rate. And the new officers coming in,
I see, like teachers.
similar, yeah,
Yeah.
same,
Got it.
same deal.
And then-
So this is a sound labor.
That's,
We're good with the labor.
that's, okay. Expenses,
Hey, good with the labor, Dave.
so, again, the energy is dropping it down $1,400. There has been I think we're working on solar up there now, which is the opposite.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
have to back up. So I just did the math on my calculator.
Mhm.
And that 2% is actually 1.678.
Wow.
Okay.
So the question becomes, what granularity are we using? I mean, are we rounding up? Or are we, how specific do we need to be in doing this?
The only
Or do
thing
we
we
want
need to be specific on in rounding. that
What's
we'll do-
granularity mean?
The rounding, the rounding in this column is only because we shrunk it down to decimal places. It's kind of like if I have now added 2 decimal places and you can see that it's 1.68%.
Right, so I kind of want to see the
You wanna see-
1.68.
You wanna see
That's
the
me,
2
because
decimal places.
when you're working with numbers,
He did it.
excellent, because when you're working with numbers this big,
Mhm.
that extra decimal point makes a big
Yeah.
difference. So I would
Right.
like to see
Okay, that's,
that.
that's,
That's just me, because that's better, and in the
Mhm.
end, when we go to.
Mhm.
like,
right.
You know what I'm
when
saying?
Yeah, and they're gonna be higher or lower, all depending,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
And so
but-
overall, when you get to the end, you.
but
you don't know
everything
where-
I've found when I've been doing this by hand
Mhm.
is always, it's been lower.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
For the overall budget.
And again, the other thing we
That's
need to do.
commendable if they keep it under 2%, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But we have to look at the expenses to see where we get in the end. But it is good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so what are we up
Yeah,
to?
'cause
We're
the
up to the
expenses-
energy?
Yeah, we're now starting the expenses, we have the energy. Again, it's a drop of $1,400 from
this,
FY 25 to 26.
here's my question on that. So, is there more detail on these, on the,
No, there, I don't, hang on.
I didn't have these prior,
I
my
did
own
not
fault
see
for
any-
looking at the
I
wrong
did not
day.
see anything in the
Um,
detail, so that's where the question.
It's the
comes in.
solar canopy. And I
Mhm.
know, I am wondering if that is all the drop that we're gonna see in energy. Is the solar canopies that are going in, do we know when they're gonna be up and running? Will they be up and running by the start of the fiscal year? And have we done any calculations to see if,
Mhm.
I mean, I know it's a drop here and that's a good thing. But what's the BVA say for energy? Where are we at right now?
Right now, it's only 29% has been used.
Yeah.
And again, that's ended December, so it's kind of like, so the new BVA will be coming out shortly.
But this is
That's
way
end of
low.
December is 6 months.
Right, so this is 6 months, we'd
I know,
expect
that's
50% to
facilities.
hit them, but we hadn't hit, this is energy, this is electric and gas. And so we would expect that the heating ones, the January.
We'll know
February,
better.
March bills
So,
Are gonna probably. accelerate.
so on the year, last year, how did we do with that? Just out of curiosity. I'm not.
Well, it looks like
Pages, right.
We're at 94% last year.
So we did use a good bit of it. I'm just wondering if, that would be my question.
Right, you wanna,
When does the
And then-
solar come online and what's the expectation? And does this
Yes.
number account, was there a cost for installing the solar that's part of
There
this?
is no, I think
no,
the
that was.
company is
right.
taking the SRECs. So the town paid nothing to have
Okay.
those installed, but the company gets the SRECs and that's how they get their payment.
Okay, so it's like when we get the residential solar through, where we pay
Yeah,
them
when you
instead of
lease,
pay
yeah.
Unitil.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same type of program.
Right, so I'm not. Anyway, I would be hopeful for a bigger
I think-
decrease.
Again, but is there heating electric or is it gas?
I don't know.
Shouldn't matter. Well, no, I guess it will
Yeah,
if it's
it does
gas. If
matter.
it's gas,
Yeah.
it'll
It does
matter.
matter.
So,
It has to be
so
electric.
the savings will be from electric, not that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
need to, that's-
Just a question
again,
on
yeah,
that.
a question on it.
Can we save anything there, given the solar panels? And I don't know how the calculation was done.
Right.
I think it actually might be coming online very soon. I think they were, last I remembered, they're almost done construction.
I know when they put ours up, it still took like 2 months for it to come online. It was a Unitil thing.
I think they were pretty,
Utility.
yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't gotten an update in a couple weeks, but
Okay,
last I heard, they were like right at the very end of
okay.
construction.
Did they just put the panels on the building? Is that where they, or did they put
It's
them in
on,
the
it's a
backfield?
canopy, it's
Yeah.
over the parking area.
Over the parking area, okay. Yeah, that's where they should be putting it, not in the field.
So we're gonna be able to park under the canopy.
Well, the police cars,
Yeah,
or if you're at the
police
police
car.
station,
Yeah.
around the back.
Yeah.
No, it's not in the front, not on the.
It's not along
Right.
Route 13,
Those on
it's,
the back
it's just in the back side, there's like a couple sets of them.
I saw the building when.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of how the exposure back
Thought they
there is
didn't
gonna
do
get a
it.
little, you're gonna run
No, when
into
you
the
come out
building.
of the back side of
blocking
the
the
sea, to
exposure,
the
I
police
would think.
department.
No,
It's
take a look at it.
Yeah, if you ever
Around
go
and
to
it's pretty
Stone
open.
Is it all?
The
clear?
whole
It's pretty
parking
open.
lot is a
It's in the
canopy of
back.
solar panels
Yeah.
now, and you just park
I'm
on
looking north,
Yeah,
but
a lot
it's
of
coming
places
from the
doing
south.
that.
Right, no, I know, but
They should get a lot of
And it doesn't
exposure.
get a block from any building, because it's far enough from the.
that's far enough from the police, from the
From
police
the
building
building.
itself.
Yeah, and it's higher. It's higher up than, it's not,
Right, but that back parking lot's closed. Yeah.
well, look at it, drive
Yeah.
out there and look at it, you'll see.
We'll do some road trips, you know, with the water department as we go. Okay, the water is, level funded. And they're currently at 34%, say 33.93.
What did I do? What did I do?
Don't know if they water lawns or anything. It's kind of like that. We go up in the spring.
Very little one.
The building and the repairs and maintenance for the building is going up 3,000. Again, I'd be looking for details of what's included in here, how much is maintenance, how much is repairs, that kind of thing, so that we can see details on if there is a building repair, if there's some money in there to repair it. Historically, well, in the last couple of years, on the municipal transfers, there's been a lot of building repair. And that sort of tells us we're not funding maybe properly in the equipment. The repairs and maintenance for equipment is level funded. And at the end of December, it was 48.59, so really, halfway. Sorry, didn't pull this up. That easier to read. Rentals and leases, $400. Again, that's 400, it's there, but they haven't used any of it in this year's PDA. Professional and technical,
What are those?
we can ask for a list of what they are. They're going up for 37% from 8 to 11. Professional services is already 85.55% consumed this year.
Professional services.
Depending
So we
on
don't
what
know.
that is that,
It
there
could be their
municipal-
website, it could be, so we want to see a list of what's coming out of there.
Right, because I'm wondering if they have grants that they can get,
Mhm.
municipal grants
Yeah.
for the police and fire, actually, for technical assistance.
I do know that Chief Sartell does a really good job of getting
Mhm.
grants to
Grants.
fund things that are needed for the department. Typically, they aren't reflected in this budget, they're outside of that.
So, would they anticipate using the grants though for their line items?
Well,
Or is that, we have to get their details?
find out what their details are, yeah.
So we'll ask for details. On their communication is level funded. And again, purchase services.
What are they?
It's just a catch-all essentially
Yeah, but,
for everything else. It's like miscellaneous.
okay, but
But you
What
wanna
are
say,
they?
it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, I mean, the other thing we can do is we can ask for, a printout of everything that's posted to this account. And see what
Right.
items hit it.
right.
Um, Okay, next on the list, office supplies, 5420, level funded at 4,000. And at the end of December, it was 56.32. Building supplies, nothing, equipment, maintenance supplies.
So the office supplies were $1,600. I mean, they were higher? They were 56, did you say?
56.32%, yeah, so they're at 17, so this
Where?
year's 4,000, they have expended $2,252.68 to this point.
Which line is that?
This line 18, the 5380 account. For the purchase services.
380, other
I know.
services.
5380 or 55?
55.
5420 is the office supplies.
Yeah, and then 5580 is other supplies.
Yeah.
But the office supplies, Dawn, you said the officer supplies, which are 5420, they've used 5,600 already?
No,
Yeah.
they use
No, no, no,
56% of the
they-
Oh,
budget.
percent, oh,
56%,
okay.
56%, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he said that too, and I was gonna say, why they're already in the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But then I realized he said
Yeah.
percent.
there's only one line that's closing in on it.
And the same for dues and memberships. That's a lot of money.
That's 0%, but there's a lot of,
Oh, doesn't matter. Well, I don't
No.
care what
Wow,
percent
that's
it
a
is.
lot.
Right.
Are they still relevant?
We can ask, it's kind of like.
Yeah, I think that's important, because that is high, I think.
$18,000?
is that spent this year?
It is about 50% spent this year. Dues and membership is sitting at 48.47%.
Sometimes that's to join a gun club for training or things like
Yeah, we
that.
should know,
Right, so we're looking for details behind the lines.
details behind the lines, okay.
There's also certain associations and organizations that would be a part of,
Right.
and those have dues
Yeah,
as well.
Police Chief
Right.
Association.
Yeah, but it's good to look at those every
Patrolmen's
once in a while.
I agree
Decide,
1,000%, yeah. Because, yeah,
because I know what it is to belong to like 20 or 30 different things that all have to do with your industry, you know?
so then we have the training.
My question is, how is that different from the contractual training? In other words, why is there another line for that? You know, if you go up to personnel, wasn't there training there as well?
In each person's.
was,
in each
5125.
person's-
Okay.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So we look at the individual training.
No, I think it was listed, but I'm not seeing it in, I've gone
Did I
to
miss it?
the,
Yeah, it's wages,
No, it's-
other training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
training, it's in every one.
51, line 5125.
Correct.
okay,
So how are those two different? I guess
Yeah,
that's my
it's
question.
35,
okay.
And this one's
Yeah.
30. It's a lot of money.
So that's one of our questions right now,
Yeah.
training.
Oh, okay, between 5125.
And can you tell me what that,
And
did that get spent last
5780.
year? It's 5780.
And what?
It's
5780.
5780.
Yeah, it's almost spent already this year.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
All that was spent last year.
out of a 26,000 budget, 25,000 of it's been spent.
I'm just curious what the difference is between
I'm
the two
curious too,
training lines.
I'm curious
that's all.
too, yeah.
I'm not
And,
saying
and-
it should
So is
be
that
there.
part of the academy stuff, maybe?
Yeah, we don't
Maybe.
know.
I
With
don't
the 3
know.
Because-
guys?
Oh, that could be. That
Right.
could
I
be.
mean,
Why
we're
it
talking
didn't go
about
But I
over.
thought we were already
$60,000.
But I thought
So
we
the-
already, a known police officer, so,
Anyway,
No,
That's
that's
a good question.
yeah, because if we're paying for that, how long do they go to the academy? And should last year feed into next year?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we don't know.
I think that's a good question.
Yeah, we.
What's the
need-
difference between line 5125? and 5780?
Yeah. That's a good question.
And because both items this year are almost fully spent. In fact, 5125 is already overspent.
Oops.
So, and then even stipends for certifications, $90,000. So how many of the officers, is every officer getting, I mean, that's a lot of money
Mhm.
for the entire staff, if you will.
but you do need to keep your officers
They
certified.
do.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why we have gone away from reserve officers, in this department. When you look on the list, there's no more reserve officers because the training was getting too expensive to keep training those
in reserve.
additional people, so some of it that had been
We do
reserved,
have reserve
used for
officers.
the
Yeah.
reserve officers is going,
That's
but
going on.
Zero.
that's just conversations in the
That's
past
just
with the chief.
people-
I don't know whether it was in a budget or not, but I recall.
Now they're all gone.
That we don't do reserve officers anymore because of the certifications and the training. It's constant to try to keep up with it.
So what was the new equipment that was?
New equipment is gonna be very different for, police than it is, many others. He puts it in because that's the description on the line. This is his leases for his vehicles.
And the new vehicles have come in.
And the new vehicles are
Are
in.
they?
Yep.
Are they all pretty?
I haven't gone to see them yet. I need to.
I thought there was another line for leases. Oh, no, it was equipment rental.
Yeah, there was equipment rental for $400. The lease you'll see was the original budget that we had put in FY 25 for 95,000. We knocked that down in August to 47.5. But his ask last year and what was approved at town meeting was the 95. So this increase to the 102,520 is a result of us in chief putting off the leases for the additional months. He put it off for the 5 months, 6 months, so that we could balance the budget in.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. So on this new equipment, is there new
These-
equipment? And then we have vehicle supplies. So the contracts, the supplies are not included in the leases?
The supplies are not included in the leases, correct?
Okay.
It's kind of like, it's your local things, I don't know whether it's the computers or the hookups that you're putting in.
We don't know a lot.
So what's the bottom line for the budget increase for police?
You want the total.
The
what's that?
cumulative, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
4.88%.
That's not bad compared to, that's not bad.
Yeah, well, and especially when you look at this on the front page, he has put the 47.5, the updated number,
Right.
for the leases. So the 115,000 looks pretty significant over year increase, but
Okay.
I suppose if we take that number out, just to see. It's all your vehicles.
Right.
It's kind of,
Oh, it's vehicles?
yeah,
Yeah,
if I put this 102,000 back in, that's where you're starting to see the 4.88%. So let me see if I put in,
Move the horses, move back the horses.
I was just thinking,
yeah.
oh,
So
there must be an expense to them too.
Oh, yeah, the horses are expensive as hell.
But if I put the 95,000 in that was in the budget for last year, you see that the increase drops to 7.92 and the total increase is 2.25.
So everything has gone up as far as the vehicles, the fire engines, it's,
Everything.
you know, it's,
But that's the piece that
thank
if you're
God we
looking,
got them before tariffs.
Yeah.
Oh, what do we do
Seriously.
about the eggs?
so so we've gone through fire, I'm
No, we
sorry,
did
Police.
Yeah.
That was
let's not do
police.
Um, if we try to make the notes about how the training is related, we'll be looking for something on the description on the lieutenant. Because that includes, it looks like it's including the cycle is why we're at the 7.9%. Yeah.
Because he lumped everything.
Well,
So
he
he should-
lumped everything, but was the lieutenant not getting the stipend last year? So everything increased. It's the stipend this year.
Then we're gonna ask about
Yeah,
the
but-
2 training lines, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Training
trying
lines,
to-
yep.
just getting this to see if there's
But
any-
going back to the lieutenant of the 7%,
Yeah.
if he takes out, if it's apples to apples on the line, I mean, don't that reflect different?
It won't reflect differently on the total. It will
Oh,
only
okay,
reflect differently
okay.
because the
On the
stipend will
line,
have
okay.
to move from his line
To the,
to the
to the
stipend
stipend
line.
line, okay, I
and
get it,
it's gonna
yep,
make no difference.
I
But-
get it.
But it is at least a question we can ask.
So Don, another question
Yeah.
that can we ask, on the vehicular supplies, which I assume is like gas and things like that.
Yeah, gas break.
To date, they've only spent 36%.
Yeah.
So can we ask if there's a possible way we could possibly reduce that line for next year?
We can ask, and we can ask when the maintenance is done.
Well, because the maintenance is maintenance I thought was a different line.
Okay, yep, it is.
Maintenance is a different line. This is vehicular supplies, which I assume it's the things like the gasoline bill
Mm.
and oil,
For this year?
you know, and
For
things like
the
that.
last year, did they spend?
Well, no, I would think an oil change would be in the maintenance.
Vehicular
Yeah,
supplies.
with
Yeah.
oil change.
Yeah, they went slightly
Should be
over,
at
so they
least.
used up every last.
They
bit.
used
No.
up every penny
Yeah.
last
Mhm.
year,
Well, you
plus a
lease
little
a
bit
car.
more
They
in
did.
Pay for
vehicular
everything,
supplies.
Okay,
You can get oil changes.
Free?
maybe if the gas prices
At
keep
least,
coming down, we'll
you know.
save a little.
Oh, yeah, so you pay.
When they go
for
to
it, right?
electric.
Well,
Yes,
I know, but not separately, that's what,
Yeah, but no, then your vehicle
Oh,
maintenance is
I
gonna
never
go through the
leased a
roof.
car.
Yeah.
yeah, I've leased
I was
a
gonna
lot
say
of
that,
cars.
there's
You get
trade-offs with
Oil
that.
Yeah.
change,
Um,
you have to pay for the
There'll
oil.
be
for
challenges with
The
that.
service.
Okay, Sam, I'm sorry you've been quiet. Anything that we've covered that you have questions with, any questions from you?
Hello? Everybody there?
Yep.
Good, I had a little problem with my mute button. No, I've been watching lines, reading them here as you go. I'm a little curious how we're gonna trim what needs to be trimmed or where, but I'm gonna sit here and watch and see what you do. Because everybody has a lot of good suggestions, so I'm very pleased with it. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, if everybody. is all set?
Is that it?
Set. Well, Chief actually did communication center also.
Yeah, he did a little.
Is that police too?
Budget in, yeah.
So we're still in the
Well,
police
I
department?
think it's a little
Yeah.
bit, shared, but Chief has to put it together.
Oh, did you wanna look at the admin stuff, or that's okay?
Which one?
The
Oh.
admin people,
Um,
I mean, it's pretty benign.
yeah, we went by it when we were looking at the summary sheet. So before we go, there is one worksheet with the admin and support staff for the police. I think that was labor, page 7.
Six.
It's a separate,
It was a separate worksheet, but they were on the bottom of the paper line. Let me just see.
That was,
So this is
okay, that's,
fiscal year 2022
No,
no, it's just a typo.
typo, okay.
So it should be 26.
Yep.
This is
Should be
why these are
26.
so confusing.
Now, I have a question though,
Mhm.
did it go up or down? The salary? We don't have another, we don't
Oh, yeah.
have, we have,
Well,
it's just theirs.
the summary will tell you whether they went up or down.
Oh, yeah, but
But you wanna see.
I mean, I think it should be consistent, just saying.
For the salary and wages for the, support staff.
See, it says at the bottom, adjusted 2.5%. So I guess the assumption is it was 2.5% less, but I think it would be good if we saw it in the lines. Just so they're all consistent.
Okay, so we'll put that.
0.1%.
Showing the 2.5% increase, the 26 salary.
I who knows?
I don't know.
So that was part of, the chief's memo, and
Yeah.
I had spoken to him about it. So the police contract is actually, about to expire.
Mhm.
So, and actually, Veronica and I have a meeting, a kickoff meeting next Friday. So we're not sure what
What to do.
what it's gonna be. So, in order to at least, have a decent conversation about what the next year's budget's gonna look like, I just told the chief to just put in 2.5% as a placeholder, so that we're at least taking into account, some increase in the COLA and the step.
Mhm.
Depending on how negotiations go, that, may get adjusted,
Mhm.
but,
Down?
probably not.
It's gonna-
2.5% is, probably as low as, because, you have to take into account, each step is already 2%. So that would just leave a 0.5% COLA, which is pretty meager, I would say. But certainly not.
It's a higher COLA than I've ever gotten.
Yeah,
Well, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, given the way, budgets are heading.
So just a question, so everything goes up 2.5% every year. So is it a point where it becomes like 50%?
Never.
So how do you, well,
It's by law. I mean, are you talking about Prop 2.5?
No, not 2.5. I'm saying it's 2.5 this year, 2.5 next year, 2.5. So over a 5-year period.
It's a 3-year contract.
It's,
We
right.
have
But
3-year
I think
contracts.
she's asking,
Well,
what's
I'm
the
just talking about
cumulative effect
everything.
of 2.5 and then 2.5 and 2.5. So
Well, you can do
Builds
the
on-
math
you
on
can-
that,
we'll do
but,
it.
Yeah.
but that's the way it works. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the way it works.
So eventually taxes have to go up.
Well, taxes go up every
Every
year.
year,
But-
taxes
but-
go up every year, so.
But our 2.5 goes up also, the tax base, you base 2.5 this year, then you add the 2.5 to the, say it's 19 million, it's gonna be 20 million or 21.5 next year, then you put 2.5 on that, so.
That's
year,
that's
every
the part that's, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so we wanna look at somewhere along the line, we will look at the revenues too, to. see.
It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Your base is increased by that amount. That's just the way it works.
Mm.
So
Okay, so
luckily, it's not
close this up
compounded
and
daily.
open communication.
Mm. Okay, so
Where are we
where are we
going?
going next?
Communication, so it's a little further towards back. But that, at least in ours, we have another,
Okay, so we've done police and we've done ACO, so we're gonna set those aside.
we can set those aside.
All right. Communications.
$175,000, wow.
Is this the
So
regional?
is there a
This is
breakdown
the
on that?
regional center, these are the expenses, Patriot, to headquartered in Pepperell. So, and I'm sorry, it's kind of like this is the first time, so if you have questions about any of that, again, feel free to ask them as well.
So what are the services?
Yep.
Oh, we have wages? Are these, everything's lumped together? Is that how this is read?
If we really take a look at it, the summary sheet, on the, where it's outsourced labor, the detail would come with the, Patriot Communication Center over in Pepperell. we're purchasing services, and we have the other charges and supplies. And then there is equipment that, and
Well, what are we buying?
we are buying the dispatch center in time. It's kind of like, so instead of having a dispatch center where we're paying dispatchers and setting up all of the communications equipment and the telephone systems and all of that here,
Mhm.
it is now centrally located. We had one that was located in different places, Pepperell built out, and a new communication center, and we're using them as our dispatch center now. Rather than, I think.
Do we share the expenses with
We
Pepper?
Yes,
we
and
share-
Ashby.
Oh, and Ashby, so it's
and
regional.
Dunstable, I think, was
Groton-
just brought in. and
Groton,
Groton.
Dunstable,
Yeah.
so it's like
They-
5
so
towns.
they're- They're expanding their base and taking in revenue, and hopefully that's gonna keep our costs to the other towns down, because they shared resources is a way to, it's a way that each town doesn't have to have a dispatch center and manage it 24/7.
Fire department uses this as well.
So we don't know, it's just
Oh,
lump sum, that's
That
it,
we
we
have
got service.
dispatch.
Yeah, we have services 24/7, 365.
There's,
Um,
we'll talk about that later.
and
This
these are
is our
the estimated
911
charges.
center.
This is 911,
This is
Yeah, if you
911
call
service.
911.
Yeah.
this is it,
Yeah.
okay.
Can you do the decimal point
Yeah.
thing?
You think I can. It's kind of like,
Because I think it comes out a little bit lower than 3 in the end.
yeah, it would. There we go. And then down below,
So is this based on calls, or is this based on?
It's just the communication center, the number, you mean the cost of it? It's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it costs to run. They have a budget just like our town has a budget.
And we're like a
And they
third or fourth
split
of that?
They split it up proportionally amongst the towns.
similar to the school district percentage.
So we don't see the details, right?
We don't see the details.
Trust the rope on
you know.
this, okay.
It would cost us, if we were to have our own, it would cost us more than this.
No, I understand that, but,
Mhm.
okay,
If you want to see the details,
No,
we
that's all
can, we
right.
can go
No.
onto the Pepperell website and,
No, it's all right.
because I would expect that they're gonna be, they have the same thing.
So, and this isn't the final budget for them.
This is an estimate still
Yeah.
at this time. I don't believe they're actively pursuing any additional towns at this point.
It would probably be grant funding.
Yeah, and if they don't get some grants, they make the change
Right.
charges.
So if you look at what we've done so far this year,
Mhm.
overall, we've only spent 30% of what was budgeted.
Yeah.
If we don't spend all the budget, does this have to go through the whole certification
The
process?
free cash
Mhm.
deal,
Correct.
anything
Okay.
that isn't spent.
And there's a process you haven't seen yet. If there's extra money in here and we're short somewhere else, we have municipal transfers at the end of the year. So if the money's there, we might be able to use it and put it to another line that's gone negative or will go negative. So that we don't have to wait for the certification.
Okay, I just wondering, because this is like a contracted service, if it was
Mhm.
handled differently than
Right.
some of the other budget
Mhm.
groups, which, are
And
Are run by our
it's a
town.
quarterly in arrears, invoicing, or we don't have those details, but we can ask the details. Because if it's quarterly in arrears, that would explain why it's a lower percentage in December. I don't know, I don't know how the invoicing is.
It's similar to the school district. It's not like we're buying, so,
No, I know, I just didn't know if the fact that it's a contracted service changes how we can treat monies not expended or extra monies that need to be expended.
It has to be treated the same. But
Same as
you're
the
right,
other.
so, but like I say, we do have that opportunity. It doesn't allow us, if it's free cash, to free it up anywhere. It allows us to pay another bill with it. So,
Right.
if we
before the
needed
end
to
of the
go to
fiscal year, yeah.
within the fiscal year, the last 2 months,
Right.
we have that opportunity. Any additional questions, any clarification? that we need with the communication center.
No.
I'm not gonna get any. So I asked.
Just fixing the fiscal year. Again, you can see it's FY 25, I think. We don't see FY 24 actual, so that may have been one of the services that we were using.
I think we were still part of Devon's at that
At that
point.
Yeah. So,
Where to now?
okay, well, the last week we had FEMA and fire department, as the last one for today.
So I thought fire, we were pushing off to the
We're gonna push
27th.
off, but,
And what about FEMA? Who submitted that budget?
I would say that came from Chief Shepherd also. But I just want to mention on the fire, the summary and the increases for labor are sitting at 9%.
Which one's fine colors?
The one before is the blue before the purple.
What percentages?
Let me
I'm not
see if I
seeing
can
it.
call it the fire.
Maybe they're on a different, under labor. Okay. Nope. Seeing. I'm not seeing percentages.
Okay, yep.
They're not there.
So, yeah. Okay, so you're right, they're not in the detail sheet. Let me see what I can do. Okay. These were on the front page. The summary on the front page is, I did not do percentages on there.
Or did you off to the right there in column E?
That could be, yeah.
That looks like a percent
Yeah.
where you just didn't multiply
I
by
just
100.
not, yeah, I think,
Thank you for giving me this extra.
Yes.
decimal points.
without having to ask them. You're right, it's kind of like, I wasn't looking at my decimals and seeing percentages, but, so this is the short summary of the salary and the wages. And the expenses is, and again, this is just the summary, what it is. If I look at the labor line, I did do the percentages of here if they weren't.
I guess we need the chief here.
Mhm.
I guess what I'm wondering is, did he increase his budget based on the fact that he has to travel further? The guys have to go, our emergency personnel have to go further
Mhm.
to get to a hospital than they used to. It's time and it's,
Yes.
and
And
it's
could be-
mileage.
and-
And,
Yeah.
you know,
It could be additional labor.
and so I'm wondering if that's the reason that you had it up there before the other page that you.
Okay, you want the summary, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just looking at the wages line there.
Mhm, yep.
I hope he did take that into consideration because we do need to consider that.
And when we look at the labor line, all that we have is base wages. We don't have a list of.
There's not a breakdown, even on a different.
There's not a breakdown. This is wages, I believe, for,
Assistant fire chief.
Okay, I'm sorry, those two.
Yeah, there is
That's
stuff.
the chief
It's
and
a-
the fire chief.
It keeps on going.
Other stuff is lumped
Yeah.
into.
See, the other stuff is lumped in together. We have officer staff. We have one line, don't have the individual breakdowns. 9.08%. I don't know how many people.
We need the breakdown. Then we need the
we-
breakdown.
We need details.
11 miles to Neshoba and down to Leominster, so there really shouldn't be a whole lot of change in there.
Seems like
But-
it takes forever to get there.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you go up to, it does take longer. You have all those traffic lights where to
Depending on the
Neshoba,
time,
you're
yeah.
just zipping
Yeah.
right through. Even though you have the little break thing.
Yeah.
But,
you have the lights, but not always on.
but to go to Emerson or up to, they're going to,
So then I
St.
have,
Joe's.
yeah, check St. Joe's and Southern.
Mm.
They're close together, but the,
Yeah.
You know, that's where my wife always took me when I needed to go somewhere, was St. Joe's.
And,
St. Joe's is.
Don, if I may,
yes,
I have some business to complete in my agenda and I have to leave by 7:45.
okay. Okay.
So, I would like to state, which I should have done under additions or deletions, that the number 5 work session was on the posting by error. We're not dealing with any of that tonight. And, there are no volunteer forms to report. And our next meeting is February 13th at 6 p.m. with the Finance Committee. And if I could entertain a motion to review and sign payroll, bills, and warrants out of session.
so moved.
And a second. Roll call.
Veronica Kell, yes.
Laura Schiffern, yes. And if I may, since there are no votes being taken,
Mhm.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn our part of the session, but you certainly can stay because.
I move that we adjourn the selectmen's meeting at 7:43 p.m.
Okay, and I second. In favor,
Veronica Kell, yes.
Laura Schiffern, yes. Thank you very much, Don, for
Okay,
having
well,
us.
thank you.
And our session is over.
So we're gonna finish our part of the
We-
fire,
we can-
right? 'Cause
we
I
can
want, I
still-
have some questions. And I have a question for Nelson too, on Veronica's issue about the wages for fire and ambulance. Didn't the, 13 counties or 13 fire departments meet with the state to ask for help, financial assistance?
We did.
And
Yep.
how is that, if we get it, no, when we get it, how would that be coming in and going out?
I'm trying to remember what it was for. I think it was. So I think it was 9-ish million. There was 500,000 for a study, and then the rest was divvied up amongst the 13 communities. I can't remember the amount. I think it was.
I think it was about 317 or something like that.
Somewhere around there. I
Yeah.
remember talking about it at one of the select board meetings
You did.
because I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what that money would have been used for.
I think it would have been for the overage that we're,
For
you know,
the-
that
for
we're
this-
experiencing.
For this
Yeah.
travel time
Yeah,
and
yeah,
old people, extra
Right.
people.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was for wages or if it was for equipment. It might have been for wages, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember.
And where is that? Is that on the table? Is it off the table in somebody's desk?
It was reported in the Boston Globe. There was an article
When was that?
that when it was submitted,
Oh, I saw that.
maybe 3 or 4 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
it's
Yeah.
with the governor and
But you haven't heard anything.
we have not.
Okay.
Nope.
So yeah, I saw that Boston Globe.
And you probably heard Neshoba, UMass is
Mhm.
taking it over and turning into some ER facility. So I think with that would alleviate some of the travel times and things of that.
Yeah,
nature.
I don't, maybe, but maybe it might be a double ride. You know, if you get to the ER and you have to go
Yeah.
If you have to go further, they will probably, if it's mid-flight, they would, I believe they got the helicopter pad there.
Right.
Yeah, I think depending on your ailment, you know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ER there might not be sufficient.
right,
if
you might have to go somewhere else.
Correct.
But, and
But by
our
then, that
ambulance,
should be, that wouldn't be our ambulance transporting
no,
them
but
at
it
that
would be,
point.
wouldn't it?
Might be,
They-
Yeah.
But,
From
you mean
Michelle.
the
It
second,
depends,
the
yeah.
second
it
trip
depends.
Be a second
possible.
trip, yeah.
is possible.
Could be a
yeah.
helicopter.
Most of the
Depending.
time.
That's
it's
depending
not.
on how.
Yeah, because I would
Could
think,
Yeah.
once they take them in,
Right,
that's
yeah.
the end of
It
their.
depends on,
Who's gonna
well,
be there?
it depends on, I mean, because they're not just,
If
they could
can't-
get called to do another run, depending on how you transport
Right,
someone, because they don't, typically you get admitted right there, unless they
Mhm.
don't have that specialty. But if you need admitted, you're going somewhere else, whether it's right then or later.
okay, so I do have another question. Am I still on the question? Are we still questioning?
On the fire?
Yeah, the storm fire. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question on the expenses of 343,398. Is the $80,000 that we just found out about for the additional funds due on the fire truck part of that?
No, this is
Probably
separate.
not,
That-
that's probably
That's
capital.
That's probably capital. It's kind of like, but it has not been submitted as part of the FY 26 budget. And it wouldn't be, because it would have to be paid, if we're ordering the truck now, it would have to be paid in FY 25.
In FY 25.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to
Currently,
address that. Am I able to do that right now here?
Start and we'll see. It's kind of like we've been.
Are you gonna shut me off?
It's gonna be in the borrowing section more than in here, I believe.
Borrowing,
The town borrows money,
right,
and then there's a part in the budget that isn't necessarily on these are department pages. It
No, I
would be
understand that.
reflected in other than a department page. So
oh,
where we pay our loans, like for the high school, we're still paying for that, and various other things, so.
Yeah, it will be part of our debt, service and debt
do
schedule.
we have
Right.
a meeting with, I mean, is that part of what we do then?
It's not part of ours. We did meet, and.
That was with
we
the treasury, that was with the
That was
treasurer, right?
with treasurer collector.
Oh,
That was,
mhm.
Melissa had given us
Okay,
all the
so
detail
then I have to bring this up.
on the debt.
I have to bring this up because I have to disclose this information. Well, at the selectmen meeting last January 21st, you made a motion to pay the $80,000 and you wanted to put it on the warrant for
We
that
were-
amendment.
We were gonna put it as an article in the warrant.
Right.
At town meeting.
So I did a little research on it. I don't know how much has been done, but the contract does not have an escalation clause. So that's the first thing I wanted to make aware of
I thought
everybody.
it did.
I know, because you made your motion based on it.
I'm gonna have to look at the.
Pretty sure.
No, it
Contract.
doesn't.
For which truck?
The $800,000,
That's the second one.
correct.
It's the
And
first one.
it's the first one that that the money is being applied to, according to the contract that we got from the vendor.
So
So
it's,
It's the increase on the $800,000.
No,
No,
it's the
it's
increase on the
$700,000.
700,000.
It's on the
Okay.
$700,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that
And-
part's moved, but yeah,
and it does say here that chassis price is subject to change based on model year and will be adjusted based on actual model year assigned to the order once that availability is known.
I didn't see that in the contract.
yeah, I didn't either.
So then that's for the first one. And for the second one, it's probably the same language because the
Yeah.
manufacturers have to protect themselves in case of,
But the increase is a single increase. We're still getting both trucks and not there. It's a single price increase
On one truck.
On one
on the
truck.
first truck,
On the
and,
first truck.
and they have agreed not to raise the price on the second truck,
and they're
which is
also-
good, given,
and they're also
what's going on in the
increasing
world right
the
now.
warranty period by an extra
year.
year, which typically does cost money if you were to do that. So
right.
they kind of threw that in as well. But yeah, the first fire truck, there's language for.
What are they coming in?
In July.
July, I think. Yep, so it's quickly approaching.
3 years.
So,
So where did you find the
Then
language
we
for that
ordered them
increase
when
in
we
the
did,
chassis?
yeah.
Because I couldn't find that in the contract that I had with.
So this is for the first ambulance.
ambulance?
No,
Oh, I'm
Fire
sorry,
truck.
for the fire.
fire truck.
Let me see.
We do have an ambulance ordered though.
Yeah, we
do.
Yeah,
We
sorry.
do.
But that's not this one, right?
Let me see. Sorry,
And that was paid through the capital plan, the ambulance.
So this one is the,
I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. There must be some language in here.
so you're saying it's not the $800,000 one? It's
No,
the it's the $700,000 one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that one right here, okay. Okay, so,
I will just say that if we are not taking it and we are gonna reorder it, it is gonna cost us a whole
no,
lot
no,
more
that's not where I'm
than
going.
86,000.
That's not where I'm going. I'm going to,
Yeah.
I get that.
Good.
I really do get that, Veronica. But what I'm really getting at is the fact that these increases, this company has lawsuits against them in federal court for this identical thing of changing the price and asking for extra money. And I think that we should just do a little more homework before we send them the $80,000. Wolfboro, New Hampshire is experiencing the same thing, and the fire department in Coeast, New York, filed a federal case in New York Federal Court, and it is identical to this. The contract looks the same. And I just think that we should take that as a red flag. We're not the only one that got the increase letter, that's what I'm saying.
We can do that.
And,
Our recourse is to not purchase.
well, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that
It means that we're looking at 3 years from now. I mean,
what I'm saying is that if this company is doing this,
did they take possession of
no,
the
they have
truck,
not
the
taken
others?
possession, no. They're in the same boat that we are. And I just thought that it would be a
Okay,
due
send
diligence.
whatever you've got to Nelson.
I didn't realize there was lawsuits of communities similar,
I'll
in a
give you-
similar
All
situation.
right, I'll send it to you right now. Wolfboro did not file their lawsuit yet. What they did is they had their attorney send a letter saying that they were not gonna pay because they were in breach of contract, and they're waiting to see what the response
So
is.
there
from-
isn't a lawsuit filed.
Not for Wolfboro, but for New Hampshire there is. I'm gonna send it to him. I mean, for New York there is.
New York has it.
Yeah, New York has it. And the other thing is, are we gonna have tariffs imposed on it when it comes in?
What we have,
I think it's already probably here.
I think it's already, the price we have is the price we have. If we go and we order something new, then if we say, okay, we're not gonna take that, you charged us $86,000, then we are probably gonna pay 300,000 more per truck. And that's fine if that's what we want to do.
No, I'm not.
Or if we
no,
wanna run the, old trucks.
No, I mean, that's not the answer that I need. I need an answer to the fact that, are there gonna be tariffs on this truck? Because if it's
Not now, we have a contract. We have a contract.
Mhm.
So if there are tariffs, they will be incorporated within what we have. If we order new, then yes, there will most likely be tariffs.
Okay, so this contract that I have is different than what you have. Because the one,
Just send it
Yeah.
to Nelson and he'll sort it out.
yeah, because this does talk about tariffs that if they come on,
Mhm.
in the event that the federal or state regulations and et cetera, we would be or import tariffs are enacted during the course of this contract, then we would be responsible. So you have this, Nelson.
Have we signed,
You sent it to me.
have we signed? a
We
contract?
have a signed
Oh, yeah,
contract
back
for
in
the first
2023.
truck. We signed it when I was still on the board.
Yeah.
That was ordered in 2022. The first truck was ordered in 2022. The second truck was ordered in 2023 after town meeting.
Right.
And I don't know the status of that contract, but the fire truck we're talking about is the first one. They're both scheduled to come in and are currently being built.
Right. So,
And we've already secured the loan for the first fire truck at the price that we signed the contract for.
the original.
The first fire truck, May 2022, the funding was secured at the point that we signed the contract.
Okay. I'm trying to find.
Do you have something to say, Sabrina?
No.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you. So that, the first one was taken care of.
Which one was
And
that?
it's already planned for. The second one we did a year later because of the escalation of costs that were being seen. And so in my book, paying 86,000 for these,
80,000.
it's like 86, it's
Yeah.
80, 86.
I think it's around
I don't have an
86.
exact
Right.
figure in front of me, but I can look it up. But in any event, to pay that much more for 2 fire trucks total is not a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that it doesn't matter that the company's being sued to do things the same that we've
If
been
we
doing?
want to take possession and sue after.
But I'm not
I have
even
no
sugge-
problem.
I'm
If
not
there's
even-
some class action, they're, trying to
I'm
bilk all
not
the town.
suggesting any lawsuit
But,
because that will cost you more than the
Well,
fire
I
truck.
think that would cost more
So-
than 86,000.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I just think due diligence should be done on this, but if you don't want to do it, that's fine too.
We can certainly take a look at it, and I do feel some of those, I was just Googling it myself. Some of those cities and towns, probably it didn't sit well with them that they had this price increase, but if I was reading it correctly, if those cities and towns didn't take on that price increase, the company eats the cost, and how long can you do that before you actually bankrupt yourself? And, those price increases weren't due to them necessarily being greedy. Everything went up in price. Unfortunately, they signed contracts for the old price. So some companies can absorb that loss, probably to a certain extent. But if you do that very deal, then you're probably going to go bankrupt. So it's probably.
Okay, I just thought it's
But-
our responsibility to look into things. and-
No, I can, we
and
can
report
certainly
it,
look
but
into it.
Send what you've got to Nelson.
Right.
Well, Nelson sent it to me, except for the
The-
I
lawsuit.
thought what
yeah,
you
the
were
lawsuit,
talking
yeah.
about.
If you would send me the lawsuit stuff.
I'm gonna send that to you right now.
But just for my cursory search, that's probably the gist of why the lawsuits happened and, why the company had to pass the cost on to the cities and towns. It's
So
really,
maybe going forward, because the lawsuit contract was almost verbatim to the contract we have. So maybe going forward, when we do new contracts, maybe we need to be more specific or get more specific language in the contract.
Saying that if the price goes up, don't talk to us. We're done.
Well,
No, but there could be specific,
Even if we've already,
you can have specific language for material increases in different language, so that it's very, more specific.
and especially with the changes, I mean, the business I was in, we did that with aluminum plates because aluminum prices started going through. the roof.
Yeah.
They went
Right.
from
right,
$1,600 up to $3,500 per
right,
ton.
so,
It's kind of like, so, there are different, and you renegotiate, kind of like, depending on the conditions and things. Because you're right, you go out of business if your material costs go up and you're making negative margins on things, you're not gonna be in business.
But, thank you for sending it to me. I'll take
You
a
got
take a look at it. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that. Hey, Jane, I appreciate it. It's been like a good, yeah.
This is a hard pill to swallow.
Well, yeah, it is, especially when.
Well, I think the
use it for
townspeople should
something else.
be made aware, you know, and
I think they
Well,
will.
I think they
I
were
was gonna
going
say-
on the war.
Right.
I mean, we already brought it up at a meeting and.
Right, and again, I think some of the things we can do is explain it in sheets that are in support of the warrant article. Like, kind of in the finance committee, we do the recommendation sheet things. It's kind of like, and we did it for the kids' country playground. The
Right.
description,
Yeah.
so just more informative, out there.
Put it in black and white,
We
and
did
they
it.
wanted, you know,
Yep.
they get to know why we're spending that kind of money. Particularly in the condition that we're in, you know.
Okay, so little bit of a side, but back to the fire sheet. So we had the summary on the front page, the real short version on the total personnel increase for 7.76%. And we can get into the itemization. The expenses are up by 5.68%, or a total budget increase of 7.36. Labor,
Funding there.
yeah, it's gonna, so in here, we've got 2% on the chief, 4.49 on the assistant fire chief, on the salaries,
Did you include,
looks like he included the special stipend in the summary for the employee. I don't know what the special stipend is and if it should be.
what's the contract?
Yeah, in the worksheet, we generally have stipends in here in the longer version of this. So I want we'll get more detail on it.
Yeah.
But the increase, again, we don't, I'm looking, as we had with police, number of people in each of these and the salaries of each person that gets us to the totals. And the increases, on the full-time staff, but the per diem staff, I don't think we need the list. If we need the list, it's in the appointed, employees, or the on call. The overtime increase is sitting at 25%, so it's increased by 20,000. I've been looking to see if we can cut that, and keep that close to where we are. But if we look at the overtime this year, and I know there's 3 positions posted downstairs, which may be the whole people that they can hire those positions. Overtime, course overtime. Overtime, come on, it's multiple overtimes in here. Sitting at through December, the overtime is already at 129.88%, so it's almost $24,000.
And part of that is because of the extra travel time.
Yeah.
With the Neshoba closing,
Yeah.
you would think it doesn't add up, but apparently, just traveling to Leominster, for example, or
Right.
Emerson, or Southern New
I'd
Hampshire.
say it doubles the ride.
Mhm.
Going from here to just over the Groton line is a lot shorter than going up to Nashua or going down Leominster.
Yeah.
Right.
we double all the lines. And again, the three positions we haven't filled. The other thing I would look for is on the unfilled position, what's the target hiring value? By not having the detail, you don't know what you're hiring into and trying to hire the position. So when it's hired, are you above the target? And we're gonna have to have more money when we hire.
You mean, does the base wages include the posted
Yeah,
positions?
Doesn't include. the
Similar
posted-
to what,
Right, similar to what the chief had. It's kind of like, so without that, listed here, and seeing that, there's a lot of questions about how the budget's put together and what the numbers are. So looking, and again, if the overtime is increasing because of the travel to the hospitals in Neshoba, does that shorten by having Neshoba open again next year? That, so it's kind of like what we have this year may not be what we have next year.
I don't think we're gonna have the emergency room center there open by July. I really don't. I think it will take a
Right,
while.
they have to get systems updated over to their systems.
Everything. I mean, I don't know what's
And-
left in
and
that
equipment.
building. It'll have to be reworked.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
It's gonna have to. Yeah, you don't just come over and take over somebody else's equipment. It's probably already been.
And there's no
moved out, so-
equipment left in there, it's gone,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah,
totally gone.
I mean, I will say this, last year, the overtime was, at 176,000.
Mm,
So,
This will be about the same if we continue on that. Or this could be two, if we're December, if we double it, it's gonna be two.
So it was budgeted at
Yeah.
80
Yeah.
and it was 176.
yes,
So we're back at where we were at my first year as a selectman. We
Mm.
had like 350,000 over the overtime budget, a huge number.
Mm.
That might not, don't quote me on that number,
Yeah,
that could be
yeah.
wrong, but it was really high.
Right, and
And this is approaching
right,
that.
and again, I think that prompted the changes to the organization structure
It
in the
did,
fire department.
and we increased what we were paying for
Mhm.
EMTs and
Right.
firefighters and
Yeah.
to get more in line.
Okay, so this is the labor, I do have these percentages, but again, they're at such a high level. On the expenses, same as the police, we list the items of like the, on the repair and maintenance, how much is in there for maintenance, how much is in there for repair. It is increasing 21%, but it's covering enough. The $50,000 is flat for here, and
How did they do on energy last year?
they were way down. We had to do a transfer at the end of the year to make it whole.
For energy,
For the energy.
so the
And that,
50K wasn't enough.
it was increased for FY 25. So what we're seeing this year, the 50,000 we went to is looking pretty closer. It's at 35% through the end of December.
Oh, that's good,
So that,
yeah.
so that
That's 6
increase
months
is
in,
good.
3 months, okay.
And so it may stick. Again, we're hitting, that was through November and December, which were pretty warm months, or December kept cold, but the really cold months are coming in. We'll see where that looks through the spring as those bills hit. Repair and maintenance on the vehicles is up 15%, level funded. Professional and technical services, I'll do a list of items just to see where it is, what's included in here. Communications, 10,000.
That's their part of that's their part of the expense for that regional.
I think
No,
it's more
that's
amongst
like
themselves.
Cell phones and.
cell phones, pagers,
Telephones.
yeah, whatever their communication devices are. And they're at 62.88% through December. On that, so that was a $10,000 line. So he's trying to stay even on that. Other services, 6,500, that in so far is only $451, so that is down near 7% you consume. So that might be something to look at. Hazardous waste collection has all been consumed at this point. So it's increasing by 10%. For the 4457 is all gone.
For the year.
For the year, yeah, it's kind of like.
Then maybe that needs to increase more unless there was a reason that more hazardous waste was in need of disposal.
Right, it could be a year-to-year thing, but,
I don't know. Okay.
detail,
Start driving to the Walmart parking lot. I guess.
okay.
Because that 10% increase might not be.
It might not be enough if, yeah. Office supplies, I'll give you, we're in good shape. That says, so far they've used half of it, and it's at 51.51%. Building supplies, 22.41%, so that level funding. Equipment maintenance supplies, that one is overdrawn, it's sitting at 130, I'm gonna call it 135%, it's 134.88. So
that's warranted, I guess. I don't know what that is, but okay.
yeah. Always willing to put in what's in here. Custodial and housekeeping is at 49.81%. Right on. Target vehicle supplies is at 48.48. Have funding again. 3% increase on medical supplies. It's sitting at 43.15 through December.
Medical supplies
Medical supplies, yeah.
is overdrawn.
No, it is not overdrawn. It's sitting at 43.15% through December. So it's
Okay.
it's plus,
Okay.
it's plus or
I
minus
thought
7%.
it was 43.
Overdrawn now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right.
I'll try to be. The other supplies, training, kind of like that seems to. Level funded, and it's sitting at 34.14% consumed, so it still has plenty, still has room in it. Okay, so I'm gonna look at this and go, there's two lines in the existing VBA. One says other supplies, the other says other supplies training. Other supplies training was 0 this year, so I think this is the other supplies, not the other supplies training.
Or maybe he just consolidated that line. I don't know.
Right, but yeah, they were definitely two different lines, one with the exact description that matches, that had $0 on it. So. Like that, it's a uniform allowance for the on-call staff. It is 36.7% consumed, so there's space to use on that.
Did that get used up last year? Awesome. It's,
Uniform allowance on call
On-call
is,
staff.
5585.
Last year?
0001.
There was still about 3,500 left over last.
Wonder if that could come down then. I mean, uniform should last more than a year. Right?
Could be turnover. New uniform.
burn up.
They might have increased their on-call staff as well.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Uniform allowance full-time staff. I'm sitting at 21.31% through December. So of course, same question for last year.
Did they use some?
They did,
Mhm.
but they only had like 9,000 last year.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so 24 was 9,000, went up to 12,000 this year, so. Credit training conference currently is at 2.5% consumed. So it's 17,000, we've only used $425.
Which one's
So
for
far.
fire training
Fire
conference?
training conference.
It must be something during the
The
spring and
spring
summer.
when the fire
Yeah.
training center.
Did they
opens back
use
up.
all that last year?
This wasn't even a line item last year.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah, it's a brand new one.
Okay, so mark that, find out what that is.
When they say uniform, that's not their, that's like their fire coats and stuff.
That's like
that.
turnout gear.
Right.
And there can be grants for that, but it's outside of the budget.
We have dues and memberships. Level funded at the 6,600 so far through December, it's at 16.67% used.
Tell me what, last year patient care reporting, is that a
Patient
new
care
line?
reporting, patient care reporting was brand new into the budget last year. Said it was the new requirement and budgeted at the 20,811.
And is that something that our staff does, or is that something that is contracted out?
That was gonna be my questions because I looked at this. If it's contracted out at 20,000, I thought it should have been put out to bid.
Well, they should at least have gotten 3.
Right, and at this point, that number that is put in there for 26,811 for next year matches the expenses for this year. It's already been, it's at 125.99%. That line concerned me, so I did go and look. I did see one company's invoice posted in there that said patient reporting. There were 3 other invoices that I'm not sure were patient reporting. So it's kind of like, so details on this and look at the invoices.
And I guess my question, yeah, details for sure.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't, if that is some sort of agency that does that as opposed to staff, why wouldn't it be up with professional and technical services? I don't know, or professional
Right.
services.
It's included in there, so it could be included in there, with then the details of in your professional services, what are we paying for in professional
I
services?
think there's a company that does billing for ambulance runs and
Mhm.
things like that.
And that could be the
And
professional
I
services.
thought that was the one that's up higher,
Right.
professional and technical services.
Yeah. So, yeah, so when I saw this at 129% of these, concerned with it already, because I don't know if it's an annual reporting thing or if it's quarterly reporting that we have to do.
Or is it new
Or
HIPAA
some-
regs of some sort?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And then the last two items, new equipment and replacement equipment, are being level funded, but again, I'd like to see details of what we're replacing, and if there's, quotes. If it's a single item and it's 20,000, it should be falling under, capital, not a line item in a budget. So it's kind of like, so I wanna see what that list of equipment is. So far this year, the new equipment is sitting at 8.75%. $20,000, we've only used 1,750. And on the replacement equipment, it's at 22.57%.
Were they in last year's budget and did we use them all?
Like last year, I think they were 15. In 24, they were 15 and went up to 20.
And were they expended?
For replace equipment,
Yeah, and the one above it, new equipment.
well, new equipment last year was 115,000, so there must have been some,
I think that was the Jaws of Life thing.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
For the new equipment, yeah, so they brought it back down to a normal level.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have to, now, does that have the initial budget estimate plus the adjusted?
None of them were, it was the same amount.
Oh, okay. Because they weren't at the beginning of the year. That was adjusted at one of the special town meetings when we moved that money in. But,
Yeah, the original and the adjusted columns are the same.
the same, okay. Okay, so that, we can get that. But again, I think we should see what we're getting and, if there's a way to use that, to have additional funds. If we haven't used them or something needs to go in there that's not there yet, and see what the second half of the year is gonna bring for new equipment and replacement equipment. Okay, so that was. Fire. Sorry, I went through it kind of quick. Sam, anything you say that you have a question with?
No, everything looks good. I mean, we need to work on it, but you need the chief too, don't you?
Yeah, we'll need the chief, but we can give him where our questions are and he
Right.
can try to come prepared rather than hit him with questions in the meeting. Okay. I'm gonna take that, close it down. Last one, if everybody's still with me, Tima?
Is that the emergency MTG worksheet right after 291?
Yep.
It doesn't say T. It's, keep going.
It's in the fire section
It's on the
probably.
back of the fire, at the end of the fire section.
It's at the end of the fire section.
Oh, separated by the
Separated by the-
separated, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Sabrina, for getting this organized for us.
Oh, is that the emergency MTG?
Yes.
291.
Yeah. We knew it.
FEMA. Who's that?
Townsend Emergency.
Manifest system. Okay.
Something like that. Okay, so do we want the summary or do we want to go right to details?
Let's go to detail.
Well,
Okay, well, you want me to get numbers in here?
oh, there are no numbers in it.
That's correct.
Very well, okay. So,
No,
no, there's only,
So are the wages, separate from fire or are they incorporated into fire somehow?
I don't believe,
The base wage that,
mm,
I mean, this is just paying someone to be the coordinator.
but it,
And I thought it was someone in the fire department.
He's retired.
that it, yeah,
It's, Billy, right?
Bill Elliott, yeah.
um,
Yeah, he just gets like a,
So,
like a stipend, yeah, exactly.
right,
it was always a stipend, but we have the numbers here. Where did it come from? Okay, so very tall.
getting cold in here.
okay.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So what is the new equipment and replacement equipment that he's
Mm,
looking into?
So it went from $3,000 to 31,000?
Yeah,
Well, then, yeah, I mean, he's claiming no investment into emergency management in recent years.
Well, that is true.
mm,
It's definitely true. But I guess what are they planning to purchase?
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, he's got 20,000 in new equipment and 10,000
In
replacement.
replacement equipment, what equipment do they have?
What equipment is that? What
Well, you
is,
wonder, is it stuff like when they had the fire down there, they had to get cots and stuff like that, or is that?
it's or when I know, 4 or 5 years ago, there was a hurricane that was supposed to come through, so they had to set up Hawthorne Brook as our emergency
yeah, I
shelter.
remember that, yeah.
So they had to set it up as our emergency shelter.
Right,
Or if if it gets
Mhm.
really hot and you need,
they have to open
So what
something
does
up.
it mean,
Yeah,
all investment
so-
into emergency management? What does that mean?
Mm,
so I
They haven't
don't
done-
know, it would just be
There
good to
hasn't
know
been
what they
any
need,
investment in
what they're
emergency
planning to do with that.
management in
that's all.
recent years, that's why he's
Oh,
asking
in
for the,
recent years is the second part of the
Yeah,
sentence.
so-
Oh.
that's why the big increase. But what is it
But
that,
but that doesn't
what
make
is,
any sense. What is it?
what do they wanna,
mhm.
what's their plan?
Yeah,
Yeah, and this is the operating budget. Does it make more sense? And again, you come down to 20,000 equipment. Is it something that's a capital equipment? It's kind of like,
well, you say capital doesn't belong in this.
well, it doesn't belong in here, correct? It's kind of like, so if they're trying to put something in capital because it's a $20,000 line, 10,000 is your trigger
we need
point
more
for
details
capital.
on
We need
this.
more detail on it. It's kind of like, yeah, so, yep. Detail on it, and the stipend increase is 2.2%, 2.2%. Again, I know they're doing the flood preparation stuff, is survey and meetings going on for flood preparation.
When you say stipend, you're really talking about the wages, right?
The wages, yeah, the wages are paid in the stipend, they're not paid, I believe, as a,
And shouldn't it be on the
hourly kind
special
of thing, yeah.
stipend line?
probably.
But
It probably should be,
then let's get it put there.
okay, down to.
That's not the concern. The concern is the $30,000 in equipment that he
Mhm.
wants.
Oh, you better be careful.
Yeah.
No, I think we should know what that is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I
I think
agree with
that's
you
on the
that it
list,
should be on the
right?
stipend line.
That was everything on the list.
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah, I think so. Which is why it wouldn't be capital. If it was on as items instead of one thing.
Okay, so that was the last budget item
Yes.
on tonight's agenda.
Did you do it all over again Thursday night?
We do it all again Thursday night for three more budgets. So we have building,
Water Health, Cemetery and Parks, and historical.
Building and what?
and what's,
I thought COA was
I thought it
on
was
too.
COA library and
Oh, that's next week. That's a week from today.
the 13th. Let me follow the 13th. The 13th.
I have that.
The tree warden, board of health, Neshoba, South Plainfield, building department budget, cemetery and parks, and historic district commission is last on the list to keep you here all the way to the end.
There was tree warden, board of health, parks and cemetery and what?
Did you have building in there?
Building?
Building department, and then historic district. It's on it. So. It's like, we'll just hear it, we won't vote, it's kind of like, so that we don't have to worry about the conflict of anything. And so that, I said 3, it's 5. It's kind of like, hopefully we'll, it's from, hopefully a little quicker. And I don't think there is space. That's all I had. I was in, I said, I have closing the joint meeting, for the selectmen, or the select board has already closed the meeting, so, the joint meeting is closed, it is just been us. The only other things I had on here was correspondence for us, there was nothing in the inbox this week.
So I just have one item on
Yeah.
the 25th, on February 25th, I won't be able to make that meeting.
Okay. Okay, I didn't get the list of items out, I gave everybody out, thank you, Dave, for.
Yeah.
What time are you closing the public joint meeting?
We'll close the joint meeting at 8:34, do we need,
Didn't you already do that?
That was the select board.
The
Oh.
select board, so we're closing the joint meeting with the select. We probably should have closed it at the same time. We'll, close the joint meeting and then we'll close our meeting. Roll call, vote to close the joint meeting.
Carol Hawes says yes. Oh, do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, why don't you make a motion first?
All right, I'll make a
Sorry.
motion, I'll make a motion to close the
I'll
joint
second
meeting
it.
at 8:34 with the
Second.
board of selectmen.
Second,
I don't think any discussion is necessary. Roll call vote.
Carol Hawes says yes.
Gary Churchwell, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
And John Hayes, yes, unanimous. Then a motion to adjourn the finance committee meeting at 8:35.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the finance committee meeting at 8:35.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Carol Hawes says yes.
Mary Jane Churchwell, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Carol Bazika, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
John Hayes, yes, unanimous. We stand adjourned. We'll meet again in 2 days.